Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Razak at CMtrading. Today is January 26, 2021, and today is Tuesday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, we're watching Apple rally the market higher after a decent sell-off across the board. Now looking at the economic events of the day, nothing scheduled for today. So jumping straight into the Forex symbols, the Canadian dollar retraces versus the USD. As we're watching, the rotation continues systemically across the board. Now looking at the indices, the Nasdaq tapering off, while the Dow Jones rebounds after a massive downwards turn yesterday. Now looking at the commodities, gold and oil tapering off. Well, looking at the stocks, it's Apple that strengthened the market yesterday. We had a V formation, which doesn't happen so often, but is indicative of a bearish market. Now looking at Alcoa and JP Morgan after a massive sell-off, they're finally leveling off. And lastly, looking at Bitcoin, it now trading at the bottom of the range. But let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're going to first jump into the Eur Usd, and you can see we're receding here versus the dollar getting a little bit stronger. And that's really on the back of the fact that the Dow Jones sold off quite aggressively yesterday. Okay, now it's not the only pair that is retracing. We look across the board, and that's what I mean by systemically, is that everything is really just getting weaker versus the dollar. JP Morgan also, GBP, the Great Britain pound, also retracing at that 137-ish level as well. Now lastly, looking at the South African Rand, this continued to get weaker and now is at resistance-ish level at 1536, and you can see we're correcting that right now. So it's a little bit of a play it's already made, and the question is whether or not it's going to sustain this or make a further correction, with the Dow Jones getting a little bit stronger. Now this is really the major play, the Canadian dollar. We're looking at a 4-hour chart, and this really rallied back to this 127-ish level and now is breaking below. Okay, so all intents and purposes, this 127.80-ish level is a resistance-ish level, and we are making that correction. Now ultimately, we're still trading in a range, okay? In the type of environment that we're in, it's completely to take into account. Now, I'm not going to cover the commodities because really nothing much happening there. But looking at the Nasdaq, okay, we had a all-time highs yesterday, 13,537, and then a massive sell-off. Okay, look at that sell-off, over a 500-point sell-off within a day. And then a rally back. Look at that. At the open, it just fell apart and then made that little recovery later. Now, this is really on the back of Apple. If we jump to Apple, you can see that quite clearly. Apple was the one that sold off completely also with the market, but it was the one that took us higher back to this 141 level. However, looking at the Dow Jones, we sold off also quite aggressively yesterday from 30,800-ish level down to 30,400-ish level, and then the recovery at the end of the day. Now in pre-market trading right now, we tapered off early morning and we're actually just hovering above that area, almost looking like as if nothing happened. Okay, this could be because the market is anticipating the stimulus package that the Democrats did say that they would come through with, but the markets have really take a rotation. Okay, now when we look at the individual stocks, okay, looking at JP Morgan, this is from the beginning of this week, from the beginning of last week, 141 down to 131. So this has been a steady decline as this has been unfolding. Now it does look like it's tapering off at this 130-ish level. Okay, so it is getting that bounce. Now looking at Alcoa, also sold off quite aggressively over the past couple of days, and I did mention this as it did gap down and then sold off continuously and finally settling at this $19.25. So it does look like it's leveling off here at this $19 range. Okay, now jumping back into the high-tech stocks, the FANG stocks, Facebook also trading quite strongly at 275 after retracing to 243. So you see that the correction is still there. The high-tech stocks are still relatively strong, but today should be a decisive day for it. Okay, so you should be looking for some sort of sell-off here at the top of the range. However, if we don't, that means we continue going higher. Lastly, looking at Bitcoin. Okay, this has really been very interesting, trading between that 31,000 and 35,000-ish area. as the range has got much tighter, okay? And this is a nice indication that we're leveling off as we're trading off of this 31,400-ish level and bouncing off of it. So this is, now you could say it's a bona fide support level at this area. The next real resistance, 33,000-ish level. Okay, so it's a tight range that we're trading with, but still relatively a decent trade if you're playing just the ranges. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.